One of the things that I think many people don't understand about funeral services, of course, no one wants to go to the funeral when it's for their loved one. It's a very challenging experience. And yet when you go, you get such closure, relief. It's a true piece of this was done well. My family member was remembered as the person that they were, and I'm grateful for that.
Welcome to Business Ninjas, brought to you by Write For Me, where you'll hear from business leaders who are out there growing their business and slaying it every day. Learn from the masters. Let's get started.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Business Ninjas. I'm here today with Courtney Miller, Chief Customer and Marketing Officer at Tribute Technology. Courtney, how are you today?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm excellent, thank you. Appreciate you spending some time with us on Business Ninjas. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and about Tribute Technology.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am the Chief Customer Officer at Tribute Technology, which means that I oversee a whole lot of things: marketing, sales, customer success. I actually joined Tribute through my agency, my marketing agency that was sold into Tribute, and have the pleasure of serving the funeral profession with all different types of technology, marketing services, software, ERP, things like that, just to make their experience better in serving families in their very difficult time of need.
Understood. What's the origin story of Tribute Technology? How long have they been around?
It was formed about 7 years ago, I would say, at this point, and it really was bringing together some of the best small businesses in our profession to say, the cost of technology to do it well has grown, and we're better together by bringing together all of our ideas, resources, expertise, knowledge of the funeral profession to combine all of that together and deliver the very best in terms of innovation, whether that's AI, automation, large language models, as well as just really great development. Good development is very expensive today. And so we're really working to bring all of those resources together and execute on that promise.
Excellent. And your customers are the funeral homes themselves, or is there a consumer component here as well?
Yeah, so we're B2B2C. So my primary customer is the funeral home, but overall for Tribute Technology, we serve not only the funeral homes, but also their communities and the families really that they serve. But a large part of our offering is really enabling the experience for the community to purchase sympathy gifts through our funeral home websites. So they can buy flowers, memorial trees, other types of sympathy gifts like meal delivery products and things that help the family to remember and heal. One of our offerings is it's called Legacy Touch, and it's a thumbprint piece of jewelry that the family can have and keep their loved one close. And so the community can buy that for them, the family can buy that for them, and we just make that e-commerce experience elegant and enjoyable.
Hey, elegant and enjoyable are two words that most people don't associate with, the process we're talking about. But hey, it's a part of life cycle. Everyone has to go through these kinds of things. And if there's systems in place to make it easier for people to, again, I'm not going to say enjoy the experience, but for it to be less difficult, then you're providing quite a relief to people. What are the most common problems you're solving for the funeral homes themselves, your main clients?
Well, staffing is a huge challenge in the profession. It's one that I take very personally and working to solve. We are nothing as a profession without great funeral directors and funeral assistants and people who can serve the profession and the family. And unfortunately, there's a real lack of people who are available and interested in entering the profession, in part because of the licensure requirements that vary by state. And so we want to reduce the need for staff through marketing automation and making things easier, any type of automation, really. I think about it a lot on the marketing automation side, because as you can imagine, families have a lot of questions. They're wanting to communicate at all hours of the day and night, including by text. And that can be really disruptive to a funeral director who's had a long day and trying to sleep. And so we've brought in things like text, to be able to intercept those text messages, answer them for them, and engage with them both at a time of need as well as when there are questions. And we do that through partnerships in the profession to enable that text. There are many, many ways that our ERP software, it's called tribute management software, reduces the need for staff by automating things, integrating. One example would be when you create a case for someone who, for a deceased, it actually takes that information and flows it into other parts of the business, including the obituary that's ultimately posted to the website. And so it just takes that burden of double entry, the opportunity for mistakes to come in, and really reduces that and streamlines the whole process. So we're looking to both help the funeral homes grow their business as well as streamline their operations.
Excellent. Excellent. And what differentiates tribute technology in the market? What makes you stand out from your competition?
I would say, for one, it's really everything in one place. The funeral profession has long had smaller businesses that might be a real expert in one area. But if you have 10 of those different partners and providers, it's easy for things to fall through the cracks. And so having everything connected from the website, the software, the marketing services, pre-need marketing, thinking about the delivery of that experience, as I talked about with e-commerce, to the community, using that experience to start to form a relationship with those community members. Of course, funeral service is a very local business. And so every interaction with anyone in their community is critical to, the life of their business. And so we want every single touch point to be consistent, like I said, enjoyable to the extent it can be. I mean enjoyable from a meaning standpoint, where you reflect and say, that was good. That was right. One of the things that I think many people don't understand about funeral services, of course, no one wants to go to the funeral when it's for their loved one. It's a very challenging experience. And yet when you go, you get such closure, relief. It's a true piece of, this was done well. My family member was remembered as the person that they were, and I'm grateful for that. And so that's kind of that enjoyment that we're looking to bring into it, is that closure and that feeling that, yes, their life really was honored in the highest and best way. And the funeral homes do that every day. We're just supplementing that with a consistent technology experience that allows their true rapport building and emotional connection with the family, creativity in the space, or what have you. I mean, we work with funeral homes that do incredible things for their families, with huge screens that depict places that the person loved. Or I even work with one firm who does fireworks displays.
Okay.
With cremated remains and things. I mean, it's really unbelievable, the creativity that you can bring into a meaningful service. Technology flows through all of that, just like it does with all of our businesses today. And so you really want that to be a consistent experience. And I think that's the very best thing we're good at.
Well, hey, one would hope that every business wants every touch with consumers to be flawless, but you guys work in a space where the people you're interacting with are at some of their lowest points and most vulnerable. So it's critical in your space. So I appreciate that that's the approach. Again, you're providing a service for people who are not having the best moments of their lives, and to try to make it meaningful and positive. Kudos to you.
Absolutely. But you know what I would say? No one receives as many thank you notes as a funeral home. It's incredible. I mean, they'll receive these handwritten thank yous, several per service, because while it's hard, we remember the people who showed up for us in those hard moments.
Of course. And frankly, people's expectations are pretty low when it comes to things like funerals. there's the stigma of it just being a completely negative experience. So if someone can make it a comforting and meaningful experience, that doesn't surprise me that you see compliments at the end of the day. Switch gears for a second. Let's talk about the COVID years. I would think you guys were sort of uniquely poised in terms of technology to be able to help in times when people were locked down and unable to travel to funerals and things like that. Tell me about the challenges and opportunities of growing tribute technology through COVID.
So I actually wasn't part of Tribute during COVID, but I was in the profession. And I can say our profession, it has long been a kind of tech challenge or tech averse profession. I mean, it's, funeral directors are so much about sitting down with the family and looking them in the eye and establishing that relationship with them. So to then have to do all of that remotely overnight was a real challenge. I mean, I taught a lot of people just how to use Zoom because they weren't familiar. They didn't need to. Funeral homes never went remote. They didn't deal with any of the challenges of remote work or working from home that the rest of us did. They've always been in place and at those events. But they overnight had to deal with live streaming. They had to deal with coordinating a funeral with people that were all over the country and weren't willing to come in or sit down around the arrangement room. So we worked through it. I think our profession is really known as collaborative, willing to help one another out, as well as our communities. So funeral service had a lot of different actions around bringing in PPE, helping first responders, helping to secure communities and take care of the people who did unfortunately pass from COVID. They were on the front line. So it was a very challenging time for the profession. A lot of people dealt with a lot of burnout after that just because of how intense it was. And so that's been a big focus of our associations to help address those needs.
Excellent. All right, switch gears, put on your marketing hat for a second. What role has content played in the growth of tribute technology? How have you been telling your story?
Well, as a business, as tribute to the profession, we use content to educate and to explain the value of technology because there's still a gap, as I said, for the profession. I think even after COVID, there was a feeling like, well, now that's over, we'll go back to the way things were. And unfortunately, we know there was a huge technology shift as our whole world. Now, Zoom is absolutely commonplace and an everyday activity. There's higher expectations than ever that you be able to service things not only remotely, but maybe contactless, and that you have simple and easy to use online planning systems for anything that we do. And so content is necessary to be able to explain that, to be able to show how it works well, to be able to offer case studies or examples. In fact, we just launched for Tribute our Tech-Enabled Funeral Home Awards to highlight people who are doing this well and share their stories so that it inspires others in the funeral profession. Oh, I could do that. They did that. I can do that as well. So a lot of times we're really taking complicated ideas or challenging concepts. For example, obituary spam. There's been a lot of scrapers who take advantage of the obituaries, especially for murders or deaths that occur, in a traffic accident or things like that, something that's newsworthy. They take the information in that obituary, scrape it, and put it up in a YouTube video or something like that just to get the hits. I know it's really awful. And so we have to explain, how do they do that? Why do they do that? They're trying to monetize the traffic. But to a funeral home, it's kind of unfathomable. Why would people do this and how can they get away with it? So we try to explain those things and say, here's what you can do to get ahead of that, right? You can post your obituary information first. You can become the real source of that information by being first, by owning your own traffic, like thinking about your traffic as an important part of your business instead of just something that kind of happens because you have a website, right? So explaining the importance of traffic, of keywords, of listings, things like that for SEO is another big education point for us as well.
I hate that human beings are the sort that would exploit death for gain and profit and things like that. But it's not a surprise to me. I was unaware that people were doing that for traffic, but it's things like on Facebook where you see an inflammatory, this person just passed away, but it's actually just a hack. You click on it. Now your entire friend list has just been hacked. It's terrible that, human beings behave that way, but obviously you guys have to insulate yourselves from that kind of behavior and rise above it.
I was actually interviewed by The Verge about this issue, and it's a fascinating article where they pulled together a lot of different sources, and it's very interesting what's happening, but yes, very sad. Wish it were not.
No, I mean, the idea that you get up in the morning and you put your energy into some nefarious behavior around someone else's death to try to profit from it. There's got to be something better you could be doing with it.
Exactly.
All right. Speaking of time, look in the future, 1 year from today. What are some things you'd like to be celebrating personally and professionally?
Oh, great question. Professionally, I want to see Tribute continue to hear the needs of the funeral homes, hear the expectations of the consumers, and deliver on those by creating new ways, especially to bring those together technologically to just supplement what the funeral homes are doing already. We do that, but I think I know there's some exciting things we're working on that we plan to launch next year. And I want that to be a game changer for the funeral profession, to really see some of the tools and technology that we're coming out with and say, what did we do before we had this? So that would be my hope professionally. Personally, I want to continue to learn. There's just so much out there, not only with AI and ChatGPT, that I feel like every month there's something new that you can do with ChatGPT, and that's been such a game changer for me and of course our whole business. But learning, I think, and being curious and thinking about what's possible has never been more important, especially as an executive and as a leader, to think about, what can we do? I mean, I know your solution, that we saw, it's like, wow. I mean, I had no idea that these kinds of things are possible. And when we look at that and say, how can we bring that into our business to make things better for ourselves, for our teams, and for our customers, that's what gets me really excited.
Excellent. Well, hey, please tell us, what's your URL? Where can people find Tribute Technology, and what social media outlets are using as well?
So Tribute Technology is on just about everywhere. We're at tributech.com. And we're on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, things like that. So please come and find us, see what we're doing. LinkedIn has a lot of our sources, as well as we have a microblog, as we call it, called the Tech Insider. So it's a really interesting view into funeral service. I also have my own personal website, CourtneyGouldMiller.com, where I talk about business growth, family business specifically, and have resources like a free download about how to get started with AI. Certainly not the end all be all of AI for a techie person, but what I found actually is a lot of small businesses, including our funeral profession, they've heard about it, but they've never really tried it. And I really believe everyone needs to get on ChatGPT, get on AI, and just start playing with it and experiencing and thinking about what this could be, because this is going to define our next generation. Our kids need to understand it, and so do we.
Excellent. Hey, I thank you for what you do. It's an important service. All the best to you and yours at Tribute Technology. Courtney Miller, thank you for spending some time with us today on Business Ninjas.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. Be well.